The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Trevor thinks the Canucks should trade Marcus Pettersson. Okay? I think that shouldn't happen. Why? Because we traded him for JT Miller. What do we do?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day. And we're not here without you and you and you and you and you tuning in. So if you like what we're doing, do us a solid. Go like the video on YouTube, and on the podcast side, just go share this episode with your friends, all right? Big day because the Abbotsford Canucks kicking off, I guess, their first ever Calder Cup game, hosted on home ice against the Charlotte Checkers. And of course, game 6 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. We the South, go Panthers, go.
We the South.
We the South, baby. But on today's show, to kick things off, what we want to talk about is the untradables. The Vancouver Canucks are set to go from two no movement clauses on their books in Jake DeBrusk and Tyler Myers to 6 next season. 4 players are set to have their no move clauses kick in on July 1st. So let's go through those 4 players and ask the question, could any of these guys be traded before July 1st? I will also touch on the Bowen Byram report as well, because apparently, no one likes Vancouver nowadays, but apparently Bowen Byram loves Vancouver. So we'll get into that as well. Before we get into all that, let me introduce my co-host, Kyle Bowen, the most proud Vancouverite and Surrey native I know. What's going on, brother?
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that comment. And that's what it's all about. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, look at this guy. Get out of my country. You're not Canadian. You're not cheering for the Oilers. Dude, I'm from Vancouver, not Canada. Okay? Get it straight. Does that make sense, Trevor?
It makes perfect sense, man. Look, I mean, my wife, again, from Ottawa, from here to Ottawa is like, if you're in Europe, it's like going from London to Russia, man. It's like 2 different worlds.
There you go, man.
Man. That's a marketing bullshit right there.
Anyways, man, go Vancouver, go Panthers. Tonight could be the biggest night in Vancouver Canucks history. I mean, Vancouver Canucks fan history. Okay? Seeing the Oilers lose 2 straight finals, it starts the question all over again, right? Is McDavid going to stay? Because that would be depressing, okay? Like losing 2 straight times. Anyways, are the Canucks going to lose Marcus Pettersson, Filip Hronek, Kevin Lankinen, or Elias Pettersson? Trevor, you've done the math. You've done the studying. The Canucks have 2 weeks to, I would say, make their biggest trade of the offseason, right? Because you're right. Going from 2 no-trade clauses to 6 is drastic, and this team needs to fix up a lot of things up their lineup in the forward department. And those are 4 names that have some cachet that could, bring somebody in.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, you look at all 4 of those guys, and there's kind of a case for trading all 4 of them. Of course, I'd be surprised if the Canucks moved one of them, but there's a case for trading any of these guys. And again, Kyle, like you said, Elias Pettersson, Filip Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, and Kevin Lankinen. So just to break it down, Elias Pettersson, when his no-move clause kicks in, it's 7 years, baby. 7 years of a no-move clause. And there's no, it doesn't adjust in there at all. It's just a straight no move clause for 7 seasons beginning on July 1st. Filip Hronek and Marcus Pettersson, a little bit different. Filip Hronek will have, basically the next 4 years of his contract would be a no move clause, and the final 3 years of that deal would be a 15-team no trade list. For Marcus Pettersson, similar thing. First 3 years is no move clause, 15-team no trade list in the final 3 years of that deal. And Kevin Lankinen gets no move clause for 2 seasons, the final 3 seasons, a 15-team no trade list. But the fact of the matter is, the Canucks are set to triple the amount of pure no move clauses they have on the books. Not to mention Drew O'Connor also has a no trade clause kicking in. So their flexibility is about to dwindle here in the next couple of weeks. So Kyle, when I look at all these guys, I'll mention 2 names first, Marcus Pettersson and Kevin Lankinen. So I'll start with Marcus Pettersson because you called me out in the intro there. Trading Marcus Pettersson to me might make the most sense of the 4, just strictly from a personnel standpoint. Look, this guy's a good second pairing defenseman. He provides value, but do you need this guy for 6 years? When again, I think you could trade him and similar value would be a first round pick, maybe a younger player from a team at a similar value to a first round pick. Again, just with the development of Elias Pettersson on defense, Kirill Kudryavtsev, you had Derek Forbort there for veteran presence. You could sign another cheap left shot defenseman as a bit more of a stopgap. As those guys develop, you don't really need Marcus Pettersson for the next 6 years on his hockey team. He's a good player, but could you get another asset, whether it's a draft pick or a young forward to help this team? That's more so what the Canucks need right now, especially with the amount of guys they have on defense.
Well, damn. Now I'm just thinking, man. I'm thinking about how glowingly everyone talked about Marcus Pettersson in that organization. And there's got to be a belief that his leadership is put on a pedestal. Right? So a team that went out of their way to ship a very valuable first round pick, again, unprotected in a Gavin McKenna draft, right? They did that to get Marcus Pettersson. Everyone kind of questioned it too at the time around the league because Marcus Pettersson was also a UFA. They're going to go back a couple months later and ship him out. I know they could get assets that they could use in a trade for maybe Barzal and whatnot. I just feel as if, even though that makes sense, my belief is that the organization views him as like their fifth or sixth most important piece or something, for real.
No, he was wearing an A, right? He'd barely been with the team and he already had an A slapped on his jersey. So, I mean, they obviously value him. Look, I'll say this. I think of the 4 guys with no move clauses kicking in, Marcus Pettersson probably makes the most sense to trade because of the reasons I mentioned. But I also think of the 4, he's the least likely to be moved. Just because of what the Canucks gave up, the optics of trading him, that would be pretty nuts.
That's crazy. The least likely to be moved. You're talking about their number 1 goalie in Kevin Lankinen, Filip Hronek, the number 1 right-handed defenseman, Elias Pettersson, Mr. 11.6, and it's like, Mark, it's tough, man. But on that note, Trevor, like, I'm not to play like revisionist. What's the word? Revisionist history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Is there a world where, like, again, the Canucks just like wait to get this guy on July 1st and they just keep that first round pick they got from Miller, and now they're cooking, right? But now we're here forced to do what? Make a trade before more no trade clauses kick in because of what's missing up our lineup. Like Rutherford talked about this team possibly needing like 2 to 3 guys in their top 6. And then, you start doing the math and you start like moving assets around. You're like, okay, this is true. They got 4, all 4 of these guys could be moved.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we can kind of like think about Marcus Pettersson and be like, okay, like they're not going to touch him. And then it's like, okay, is it Filip Hronek then? No, honestly, is it Filip Hronek? Like, is there a world where this Canucks team got to see Tom Willander play for the Vancouver Canucks late this season, and they're like, you know what? Let's move Filip Hronek. Like we got our top right-handed defenseman. Like we need a number 2 center. Let's move Filip Hronek. And here I am, like even without seeing that in Tom Willander, thinking like, yo, the Canucks are probably thinking about that right now.
I think it's a possibility, and we're going to talk about Bowen Byram on the other side as well, because I think the potential of him coming to Vancouver does kind of tie into all this as well. But with Filip Hronek, look, it's incredibly risky to trade Filip Hronek. He's your top pairing right shot defenseman. Behind him, you have Tyler Myers and 2 rookies, right? Like it is very risky to trade Filip Hronek. I think you only trade him if it's like a Jason Robertson type of deal. Hey, Dallas, if they need help on defense, it's on that right side, right? We got Heiskanen and Harley are both lefties. So again, I don't think Hronek is likely to be moved, but like by all means, if he gets you a top line player as part of a deal, I think you consider moving him, especially with Willander coming up. Because look, it depends how much the Canucks believe in Willander. But if he does have Brock Faber-like potential, then all of a sudden Hronek becomes a luxury. The problem is you're not going to find that out in the next 2 weeks. Now, Kyle, I think before we get to break here, one thing I do want to ask you, I said Marcus Pettersson of the 4, the least likely to be traded. Who among those 4 players is the most likely to be traded among Marcus Pettersson, Elias Pettersson, Kevin Lankinen, and Filip Hronek?
I think it's I think it might be Filip Hronek, man. Which I don't even want happening. But I keep looking at how they're gonna fix what is needed up their lineup. And I wondered, like, I just wonder if they make a tough decision here and roll the dices with a young decor and hope that Tom Willander like just steps up. And it's scary because, you know, read the Substack, okay? Link in the bio. I don't know if I wrote it in this one or the other one. We just updated it yesterday. I was thinking about like the top of the Canucks lineup in like these playoff like games, right? I've been watching so much playoff hockey, and the game just feels so different to me. Okay, and I'm like, yo, out of like Pettersson, Hughes, and Filip Hronek, I'm looking at our highest paid players. Who's got that dog in them? I think Quinn Hughes does. I mean, he's been injured. He was injured in last year's playoff, but I want to see the sample size. Blah blah blah. But like Filip Hronek has that grit, that toughness. Like you could see this guy actually being an effective playoff defenseman. Again, he wasn't even completely healthy in last year's playoffs, but yo, what I'm trying to say is I'd be scared to also move off of this guy because we don't have a lot of POS on our team. And he has that in him. He's an aggressive player along the boards. He's not going to lay you out with body checks, but he's not going to let you slash our goalie in front of the net. He has that. Yeah, it's the Canucks, man. Like they got... Like, they want an impact guy. You're not getting that with Marcus Pettersson. Like, yeah, you're getting another first-round pick of anything. Possibly. But you may not even get that. But with Filip Hronek, you're getting a haul. And the Canucks need to take a chance. Like J. Cole's quote, right? If you're scared to take a chance, how you're going to get rich? AKA, if you're scared to take a chance, how are you going to keep Quinn Hughes? Which is ironic because Colin is telling us in the comments, you know, he keeps saying it. Like, you trade Petey or Hronek, and Quinn Hughes is gone. Like, Hronek is Quinn Hughes' guy. But here I am saying, you know, like to make big changes up the lineup and to realistically replace JT Miller and what type of value he gave you, dude. Like, how else are you going to get that guy?
Yeah, 100%, right? And if it is, again, if a Jason Robertson's even available, you're probably going to have to move a good piece like Filip Hronek and add to it as well. But, you know, Filip Hronek was, again, basically what got you Bo Horvat, right? So that's kind of the comparable value there. So, like, look, I'm not really the biggest fan of trading Filip Hronek. I'm intrigued by the idea. You're really gambling on Tom Willander. But again, the Canucks, like you said, Kyle, are going to have to make some bold moves to improve this team to, you know, get back up to cup contention status in the Quinn Hughes era. I think finally, I'll answer the question that I asked, the most likely to be traded among those four players. I think it is Kevin Lankinen, just because the Canucks actually have to make a decision there with their goaltenders, right? Artur Shilov's continuing to steal the show down with the Johnny Canucks down there in Abbotsford. And again, he's waiver exempt, not waiver exempt next season. So again, the Canucks have to make a decision with one of their goalies there, Lankinen, Shilovs, and Demko. So I think that makes Demko or Lankinen the most likely to be traded. But again, I think the probability of any of these guys being traded is definitely sub 50%.
But like, how do they justify trading Kevin Lankinen in hopes of generating the assets to get that piece up their lineup? When it's like Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard got their team to Game 6 of the Stanley. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if
they lose,
100%. No, that's true. But if you're trading Lankin, I feel as if you're getting like a third or a second, and you're just getting off that contract.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's the lowest value piece of the three. I know some fans are going to want to argue for Elias Pettersson, but of the four, Kevin Lankinen would have the lowest value just because of the volatility of the position. Artur Shilovs actually might have more value than Kevin Lankinen if the team is really believing in his potential. I mean, look, Kevin Lankinen signed for 5 years now. He's got trade protection in there. He's 30 years old. There might be a team that's banking on Artur Shilovs to be their goalie of the future, whereas Kevin Lankinen is a bit more of a known commodity. Okay, let's pick up the discussion on the other side and maybe talk a bit about trading Elias Pettersson. He's the one guy we didn't really even talk about in this segment. Let's get into the Bowen Byram report as well and more coming up here on Locked On Canucks. Before we get back to the show, we got to talk about dem nuts, baby. And if you're an everyday or an occasional listener, you know what nuts I'm talking about. No, I'm not whipping mine out and putting them on the table here. I'm talking about the nuts from wonderful Pistachios. Because if you're looking for the snack that's both delicious and nutritious, look no further than Wonderful Pistachios, because Wonderful Pistachios, it's one of the highest protein nuts, baby. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller for longer. And Kyle, man, oh man, all this guy does is eat pistachios and bananas, man. I don't see him eating anything else. Pistachios, bananas, and yellow dog beer, man. That's the winning combination for Kyle Bowen. And Kyle Bowen likes to tease, so he goes with the in-shell options. They are the classic favorite from Wonderful Pistachios, but me, you know me, I just like those naked nuts in my mouth, so give me the no-shells variety. Whether you like popping naked nuts in your mouth, whether you like the tease, just make sure you pop a big old bag of Wonderful Pistachios right in your mouth. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs the protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Okay, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks. Remember, we the South. Remember, hit the like button. I'm getting married in 5 years, and my wedding is projected to cost $627,000. I got to invite 1,000 people. It's as Trevor would say, it's a Brown thing. As I would say, I'm just deeply in love. Okay, hey, but Trevor's from Surrey. You know, he knows his stuff. All in all, though, support the show, share it with a friend or a family member or another Canucks fan, and we'll be greatly grateful for the rest of our lives. Okay, for you and you and you and you. Speaking of which, let's get to some of your comments. Colin, man, just again, the biggest Filip Hronek fan. Okay, sure. So let's make sure we lose the best defenseman to ever play here, and the best defenseman on the planet. It sounds like a winning formula. Again, Colin saying that if we trade Hronek, Quinn Hughes is going to get pissed off. He's going to leave. Boom, bam. Do the math. And I get it too, because you know what? Quinn Hughes is an assassin. He's a gamer, and I don't want the Canucks to trade Filip Hronek. I'm just looking at like if Jim Rutherford is correct and he's like, yo, we need 2 or 3 pieces, right? In our top 6. I'm like, how are they going to get that? How are they going to do that, right? Filip Hronek, out of those guys whose no trade clauses kick in, is probably getting the biggest haul for him. But can we just slow down and appreciate the guy more and more and more and realize that, yo, Quinn Hughes is probably not as good if he's not playing with Filip Hronek? Can we start having that conversation? Because Quinn Hughes has been good since he's gotten into the league. He's been great since he's been connected to Bob Orr and Brian Leach and all these guys since he broke into the league. But there's definitely been a vast upgrade in the guy's game over the last 2 years. What happened? Oh yeah, he finally got a D partner post Chris Tanev, and it's Filip Hronek.
Hey, you don't want to give Rick talking out and foot the love there, eh? You're gonna give it to Filip Hronek instead. Look, I see your point, man. They've been a super pairing at the top of the lineup. I'll try to bring up some numbers on it too, Kyle. But I mean, Quinn Hughes has just been so dominant out there, no matter who he plays with.
True.
Right. But I mean, Filip Hronek, to his credit, has been really good without Hughes too. And again, I kind of wish they did more of that before they signed him to that contract. I digress. But Filip Hronek, with last season, we all saw when Quinn Hughes was out of the lineup, he played like a number 1 defenseman. So he would have the most value, I think, right now of the 4. Unless the team just absolutely believes in Elias Pettersson to bounce back and they're buying low. But look, again, if those 4 guys to be moved, it's again, I think it should be Marcus Pettersson at the 4 if you're choosing 1. I think most likely is Kevin Lankinen. Filip Hronek would get you the most value. Elias Pettersson, again, we've talked about before. I just don't know if a team is willing to pay, what the Canucks should get for a guy like Elias Pettersson, just based on his previous track record. So I think he might even be the most likely to stay. All the PD love in Vancouver, they want to just keep building the Pettersson pipeline.
Yeah. Well, they also want to keep building up the D pipeline, man. Even in the Discord, join the Discord link in the bio. Like a lot of people, and I like waking up to this stuff. I think it was Dan Jardine. I think I'm going to start calling Dan Jardine the father of the program. Okay. Big Daddy Dan. Trevor, I know you're the you're a father too. You're best dad in the world, but Dan Jardine actually looks like a dad. Okay. He looks like a grandfather too. Hey, Dan, don't take that personal. I'm just saying you have experience, okay? And he keeps talking about, this could be nice. Like building from the back end, it could be the recipe for the Vancouver Canucks and their success. And dude, we're hearing more about Bowen Byram, and let's keep using the internet, okay? I want to workshop this segment. keep learning how to use these buttons. Let's swim in the ocean and connect with other people talking about some future Canucks. Okay. We got a J Fresh hockey card here. If you just scroll through Twitter and search Bowen Byram, he's probably one of the most polarizing hockey players in the league right now. Okay, because he's Bowen Byram. Get a J Fresh hockey card has him what? Like, I'm looking at this and I don't even need to understand this, but is this guy the worst defenseman in hockey?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting that one of the big issues with Bowen Byram, I think, is he played a lot with Rasmus Dahlin last year. So that meant he played the right side quite a bit. Important for Canuck fans to know, because as a left shot D, you're thinking, okay, you got DPD, you got Marcus Pettersson, you got Quinn Hughes. Like, where's Byram going to slot in unless they do lose Hughes? And if they lose Hughes, who the hell cares what happens anyways? But Bowen Byram could slot in on the right side. And I think that's important to remember heading into next season. It would block guys like Willander and Mancini if they're even still around, because you got to think if Byron's coming in, you got to give something up in return. But yeah, looking at this, I mean, he struggled when he was away from Rasmus Dahlin. Buffalo, again, was a very bad defensive team overall. That hurt his numbers too. On the power play, he also wasn't getting really the minutes. He was playing behind Dahlin, so you get limited time, so that affects you as well. Yeah, I mean, Bowen Byram, look, I don't think he's a perfect player, but he did log some big minutes last season. He got, was pushing 40.7 goals, 38 points, I think it was. So, I mean, that tells part of the story too. He's still a good skater as well. But yeah, I think what the card's saying here is that his underlying metrics were great, and the reason he piled up those points was finishing ability, which isn't really a predicator of future success. So, look, I still believe in Bowen Byram as a player, but I wouldn't be breaking the bank to get him to Vancouver.
And look at this that I just pulled up too. I'll touch on Bowen Byram in a couple of minutes, because I got a theory, okay, on why the Canucks should acquire him, and it doesn't so much connect with like, the Quinn Hughes effect and like replacing Quinn when he leaves. But look at this, man. If you search up Elias Pettersson on Twitter over the last like 5 days, people think he's jacked. People think he's jacked, right? They're looking at like his shoulders and he's looking bigger. Look at that, all this stuff, and I hope he's jacked. And I love my hot girlfriend, but I'm gonna need to see the shirt off, bro, to be convinced. No, all I'm trying to say is this. Again, read the Substack, link in bio, because I talked about this. I'm not convinced that Elias Pettersson is legitimately back because he finished a workout program in May. Because there's more to this. Like, the will to work out is one thing, the will to win is another. Okay? And I think we're going to see progress reports from Elias Pettersson the whole summer, and it's cool to be optimistic and just be like, you know what, thank you for putting in the work, but let's not forget, the work is the bare minimum. Especially when you're getting paid that much. Like, it's just the truth. And we're in the Pacific Division. We play against Leon and Connor, and we're in the West. We play against Nathan McKinnon, right? So, based on what's happened over the last 140 games of Elias Pettersson's career with the Canucks, like, I'm waiting until October. Okay, I'm waiting until October to be convinced. Anyways, Bowen Byram, again, apparently he wants to be a Canuck. I don't know where people are getting this quote from, but it's circling around the internet a lot. He wants to be a Canuck.
I'll chime in quick there. It was Adrian Dater from Colorado, I think Colorado Hockey Now. I responded to Rick Dolly while talking about, the Canucks interest in Byram, and Adrian Dater, who was, again, in the Avs dressing room for a long time, says he believes that Bowen Byram wants to be a Canuck. So this is where
wow. Okay, so inside source, boom, bam. I'm going to assume a good friend of Bowen Byram, okay? There's some people out there, and they look at the hockey card. They don't watch the Bowen Byram film. They just look at the J Fresh thing, and they're like, oh, yeah, this guy ain't the guy. This guy ain't the guy. Overrated. Don't get him. Boom, bam. How old is this guy? 23 years old, 24? You know how young this guy is?
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he's a playoff performer. Everyone talks about how this guy was impactful. Not just a piece. Impactful for Colorado in their cup win against Tampa Bay and just that whole run. I'd love to watch the film. because I'd rather look at that than look at a hockey card, especially a hockey card that's connected to the Buffalo Sabres. Okay? Number 2. I know a lot of people are looking at the Bowen Byram thing, and I heard Patrick Johnson say this too after we said it. But we said, yo, are the Canucks interested in Bowen Byram because they're trying to like set themselves up to replace Quinn Hughes in a little bit? Maybe. We said that first. I don't think that's correct. I think the Canucks are interested in Bowen Byram because they believe that him being behind Quinn Hughes could unlock him, could show him the way. Like, I know they'll play on different pairings and whatnot, but I wonder if at practice, within the games, whatever, if Bowen Byram is just watching Quinn Hughes, he gets it. He figures out the pacing, the confidence, the bravado, and you get the most out of that guy, which I think the league has been missing. Like, we haven't seen Bowen Byram consistently be elite at all in his career, right? He was good in the playoffs, whatnot, boom, bam. But I wonder if he could learn a lot from Quinn Hughes, Trevor. And then that, if you look at it like that, then it's like, yo.
Yeah, I think it's
a ripoff. It could be a ripoff. Like, you get Bowen Byram, and now you're talking.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting theory, Kyle. I mean, I always go back to the fact that Byram played alongside Rasmus Dahlin, like another Norris Trophy candidate, right? Like Rasmus Dahlin was one of the best defenders in the league. But you're right, in terms of Byram and Hughes, just based on their statures, based on their skill sets, they are similar players, right? Like Rasmus Dahlin's got some size, he can hit. Like that isn't really the game for Byram or Quinn Hughes. So yeah, I think it's an interesting theory, right? We think about, on cup contenders, right? That third line gets a bit buried. They get softer matchups. They can go attack, right? Like look what Lusterine and Marchand and Lundell are doing in these playoffs. For that to happen on defense is a little bit of a different question. But man, oh man, like if you can have a first pairing with Quinn Hughes, a second shutdown pairing, let's say it is Marcus Pettersson and Filip Hronek, and then you have a third pairing with Byram and whoever else. Belander, there you go. So I mean, yeah, there's some intrigue there for sure for the Vancouver Canucks. There's more so what is the cost to get Bowen Byram at the end of the day, because Buffalo is not going to give him away for free.
No, they're not. But I wonder though. I wonder if it's not as much as people think though. Straight up. Like I wonder. Obviously, I wonder what it could be, but I just wonder if it's again different. You know how like Buffalo, like the Canucks and Buffalo, like they're cousins, like they're related. Okay, like I wonder if Buffalo would have the same respect for Marcus Pettersson the way Alvin did. I'm not saying it's a 1-for-1, but I wonder if like Marcus Pettersson is the piece going the other way. Look, all I'm saying is I like Valentino Mancini the third, and I like DPD, and I'm like at their best. I know whatever, right? Handedness and it's all the Valentino Martini, and they're different, right? Than Pettersson because of the way the way they grip their sticks. Okay, positionally, right-handed, left-handed, all that, whatever it is. I just think they can be as good as Marcus Pettersson if they reach their potential. That's all.
I like the take, man. Let us know in the comments. Do you think the Canucks should go chase Bowen Byram, who, again, Kyle, you mentioned it. He just turned 24 years old on June 13th. Still a young chap, after all, with room to improve. We'll see if there's room for us to improve on the other side as we talk about Panthers, Oilers, Abby Canucks, and get to some of your comments as we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks.
People, we back doing this, and that's, I don't know, just talking about random players joining the Canucks and playing GM mode, and it's going to happen, okay? I don't want to jinx it, but the NHL season is going to end tonight, and that means next season starts tonight as well. And in 2 weeks is July 1st. Like, that's nuts, Trevor. Like, time travels quick now, right? So on that note, Trevor, did you know time travel actually exists? Because I've seen multiple time travelers in my time. And if you've done the research on AI and robots and where the world is going and how everyone's going to lose their jobs in 3 years, so Trevor, you better like learn how to be a plumber or something. It's going to be unlocked. This whole time travel, boom, bam thingy. And I used to I used to, again, for the last 13 months, I've been pretty much borderline sports depressed. Okay. It's not that serious. I'm just talking about with the Canucks, it's been hard. Okay. And I used to think to myself, like, dude, if I had a time machine, I would just go back in time and I don't know, give Pettersson the right books, and I would be the person who discovered the cure for Papatias, Papalitis, Papa whatever, and make sure the Canucks beat the Oilers in 7 games so that we could ruin that franchise, because I thought a dynasty was about to start. And I don't know, Trevor, tonight, like I said, I don't want to jinx it. Maybe we're speaking too early, but if a team loses 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals, like, how do you recover from that?
Well, I started thinking that one comparison I thought, and it's not even the same sport, was the 1990s Buffalo Bills, who lost like 4 Super Bowls in a row. And look, I don't want Edmonton to win. I've made that very clear in this program. We the South, baby. But I do think Edmonton's going to win a cup at some point with McDavid and Draisaitl. But maybe there's that chance, right? Because they are not the best built team. Like, logically, Florida's going to win tonight. If you follow logic, Florida's got the better team. They got better goaltending. They should win this series. But there is a McDavid and Draisaitl factor. They theoretically are the 2 best players in this series. But typically in a sport like hockey, you don't win with 2 guys, you win with the team. Now, to the Oilers' credit, their team's been better. But for them to go into the Stanley Cup final with Skinner and Picard, I still think was a huge oversight from last year. Like, did they not learn anything from last year? They just thought, Skinner got us there once, he can do it again. But he's great one game and sucks the next. You put Picard in, he's 7-0, and then he lets him 4 goals on 18 shots. Like, there's so much volatility there. Logic dictates the Panthers should win. But man, oh man, I mean, how did the Oilers recover from this? I guess that's your question. Look, they could go to 4 straight Cup Finals and lose them all, right? The NHL is the Stanley Cup Trophy is the hardest trophy to win in sports. So,
yeah, and like, again, it's 2 straight. It's so emotional and so grueling. And I look at what you just said about their goaltending, and I look at McDavid being a UFA in like 12 and a half months. And I know his best friend Draisaitl just signed an 8-year extension. It would be a dick move for him to like not also stay in Edmonton, right? But there's that chance, bro. There's that chance. I'm telling you, there's that chance where he's like, I don't know, like, I have a chance to like be an unrestricted free agent. I haven't won in Edmonton. Are my chances better somewhere else? And dude, Trevor, I thought about this too, especially if they don't win, right? Wouldn't going into like an era of NHL hockey where like the salary cap is going to go through the roof, like it's maybe important for like the future of the league and McDavid's wallet. Now, I don't think the guy cares about money too much. Like the guy's a competitor. Like he's a G. Like you can see this guy has fire in his eyes and he just wants to win Stanley Cups. But I want to know how much he gets paid if he's a UFA next summer. No, he could rewrite it all.
yeah. I think we're talking max deal. I think we're talking probably $18 million would be my guess right now.
So history, like a lot is riding on the next couple of days in the NHL for real. And yeah, anyways, go Panthers, go make my dreams come true. Trevor, I know you want to talk about the Abbotsford. We got to go like in the next like 5 minutes. So talk about Abbotsford. I'm going to queue up some comments and we'll finish out the episode.
Yeah, quickly. It's Abbotsford Canucks again playing their first home game in the Calder Cup playoffs tonight at the Abbotsford Center. I think 2 guys I wanted to shout out on yesterday's show that I didn't end up shouting out were 2 of the big boys making an impact down there for the Abbotsford Canucks. And one was, first and foremost, Danila Klimovich. You know, this guy, I wonder if he's gotten back on the prospect radar for the Vancouver Canucks. Still a relatively young guy overall, coming up in some big moments. And he's one of those guys that if he can get it right between the ears, which is a very tough thing to do, that is often what separates guys to the next level. I mean, he's got some speed. He's got physicality. He's got some great moves in terms of his hands, his stick handling. Like, he is a guy, if you develop him properly, he could put it all together and at least be a decent energy bottom 6 player. I do wonder about just his processing sometimes. But again, just the bounce back to go from 2 goals and 4 points in 24 games last season to 25 goals in 65 games this season. 3 goals in the playoffs, including 2 overtime winners. He stepped up in some big moments, and the guy who's been pretty noticeable in these playoffs. The second guy, good old Sammy Blais. And man, oh man, he did the Stone Cold Steve Austin when Justin Sordiff, shout out to Justin Sordiff, he's got some Surrey ties there. Takes out Sammy Blais. Sammy Blais goes to the dressing room shaking up, comes back, starts calling out the Charlotte Checkers bench. I know Andrew and among our commenters, Andrew the Everydayer, he wants Sammy Blade in the NHL team next year with the Vancouver Canucks. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I do worry about the speed, but man, oh man, he'd be a fun guy to have up there because he's been a freaking fun guy to watch for the Abbotsford Canucks though so far. So, I mean, Abbotsford has pucks on net, but obviously there's a path here with the home crowd behind him and Archer Shilovs to get the win here in Game 3.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Archer Shilovs can continue to do it. We're close. We're close. Again, the net, we talked about this being like a huge 2 weeks in Canucks history, boom, bam, blah, 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 based on who they got to trade and how they got to fix their lineup and who's about to get their no trade clauses kicked in. We're going to find out legitimately. We've been partially joking about it, but we're close to having another piece to the puzzle, have a lot of asset value if Archer Shilovs gets a Calder Cup. He's a top prospect. He really is. Anyways, let's get to some comments here on Locked On Canucks. Look at Greener saying McCupless. Okay, that's I like it, man. I like it. Look at this one from James Moore. Are you surprised Elias Pettersson is not named to Sweden's Olympic team so far? I mean, they released the first 6 players, and nobody's surprised. Nobody's surprised. He's not one of the best 6 players in Sweden based on what he's done over the last 15 to 16 months. And I hope he makes it on Team Sweden. Because honestly, if he plays the exact same way that he's been playing over the last 500 days, I don't know. I could definitely see him not making Team Sweden.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the Four Nations in that last game, he was the lowest forward among ice time. I think he was the only forward that played less than 10 minutes in that game. So he's got a long ways to go to get back up there. I mean, shout out to Gabe Landeskog. Hasn't played hockey in 3 years barely, and he gets named. I think that's more of a legacy thing. Adrian Kempe's been great recently too, so no surprises there. Just low-key quick, I think the biggest surprise for me among the teams or the players being named for the Olympic squads, Jason Peterka, JJ Peterka, the Buffalo Sabres, not named to the German roster, but Nico Sturm was, Philip Grubauer was. That was the weirdest decision of the day. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah, that's just the way it is. Maybe it's what's up with JJ Peterka? I wonder if he's not a good teammate or something. What's going on?
What did he do to Germany, man? Come on.
That was something else. Dan Jardine brought this up multiple times, but he's talking about how the Rangers might need defense, especially if Keandre Miller leaves. And I just think the Rangers need defense in general. So I wonder if that's a home for Filip Hronek or Marcus Pettersson and, Will Cooley. I mean, you want Will Cooley in the playoffs, man. If there's a guy that kind of reminds me of what is successful in Florida, it's Will Cooley, and that would be still a lot to give up to get a guy like Cooley, but I'm curious.
Yeah, young guy, RFA, obviously needs a new deal, but I mean, both those players, you could see them fitting into New York, right? Marcus Pettersson certainly would improve their defense. Their defense was horrendous last season, and Filip Hronek, apparently he's JT Miller's bestie, so I'm sure JT Miller would be happy to be reunited with Filip Hronek there.
And the last comment is Colin saying, I can see Pettersson getting 90 to 100 points next season. Thank you, man. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. There you go. Positivity. Boom, bam. We the South. Go Panthers. Go. Everyone hit the like button so you can make Trevor's children proud. And so I can afford this wedding in 5 years. Trevor, sign us out.
Shout out to you and you and you. Again, we appreciate all of you for tuning in, whether you're an everyday or an occasional listener or even a first-time listener. Again, this is Locked On Canucks, baby. We're going to do this. Locked On Canucks, your team every day, hopefully for eternity. But if it only happens, if you spread the word, hit the like button. It helps us out a lot. We'll be back tomorrow, man. Back on hump day, hopefully celebrating the end of the NHL season and the Abbotsford Canucks taking a 2-1 lead in their series. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.